Welcome back. This week on Understanding the Law, Alex Anderson and Bill Kindig tell you all you need to know about wrong death cases in Louisiana.
Well, today and every Monday, we make sure you understand the law. But before we do that, we have to say this. This segment is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute legal advice. No attorney-client relationship is formed by watching or participating on this segment. So if you're seeking any specific legal advice, you do want to reach out to an attorney on your own. Got that out of the way. Bill Kindig here from Rice and Kindig, as always. Today we're talking about what families need to know after a fatal wrongful death accident. And as in most things, I'm sure this is a loaded topic.
Yeah, it is. So first of all, not every death is a wrongful death. Right. I mean, every death, if you're the family and the victim, it's certainly tragic. But when we say wrongful death under the law, we mean that somebody else's negligence or fault caused that person's death. And what happens, first of all, is that just like when you have a car wreck, people are not thinking about, okay, what do I need to do at this point? First of all, let me tell you, you have up to 2 years under the current law. They did recently change the 1-year statute of limitations, which we call prescription in Louisiana, to 2 years. But wouldn't you know, they forgot to include wrongful death and the survival action. So now that's been equalized. You have 2 years. But I wouldn't ask you to. I would encourage you to go ahead and start getting your ducks in a row as early as possible. Right. If you think there's been a wrongful death. The first thing is, you need a birth certificate and a death certificate, prove that the person existed. You're not going to get a death certificate for many, many months, but ask the funeral home or whoever's coordinating that to order some copies for you. You'll need that. Louisiana has kind of a ranking of people who are entitled to recover for the death of another person. It's not everyone that person loved, and it's not everyone who loved that person. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, if the person died without children and without a spouse, the parents. If the parents are no longer living, then it's the collateral siblings. Okay. If the person was married, then it's going to be the spouse and the children of that individual will have the right to bring that claim. And here's the thing, every one of them, even the kid he didn't like, or the kid who didn't like him, or just the trouble kid, has that right. And everybody needs to be accounted for under the law. So, for instance, if you're the spouse of the victim, you're going to need a marriage certificate. If you're the child of the victim, you're going to need a birth certificate. And this is a really kind of a delicate issue to talk about, because if you were born at a time when your mother was still married to somebody, that person's going to be listed as a father in your birth certificate more often than not. And so, for instance, if an individual, if they quit living together and they live separate and apart, and mom gets pregnant, now we've got to prove up your paternity, and this can be difficult. DNA is obviously the easiest way to do that. However, if an autopsy isn't performed, there may or may not be samples, and now do we have to think about exhuming? There's some other ways to do it, but again, the sooner we start asking the questions, we can get answers to people who may find themselves in that situation.
And a lot of topics that we cover in this segment, they're tough topics, right? Stuff you don't want to think about, fathom even
People
happening.
Aren't coming to me saying, hey, we want to name our child after you.
Right. But as you said, being prepared for the worst is going to give you a better chance of making the most you can out of it.
Right. And we don't charge a fee to consult with you. So if you think there may be a wrongful death, we can go ahead and visit with you. We can talk about it. And let me just tell you, the one thing that I do not ever want to do is give somebody false hope. I want to tell you the truth from the beginning. If you have a case, I'm going to tell you I think you've got a case. If you don't have a case, I'm going to tell you I don't think you have a case. I may encourage you to go get a second opinion because people think that's appropriate. But really, closure is important for everyone. And if there isn't a case, then the sooner we can bring that closure, the better off we are.
All right, Bill, as always, we appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us today.
Well, great. Good to see you again.